and back to our lab handout. And this is what we're going to start testing. So the next step is to go back to Visual Studio. Okay, so I typically close everything that I don't need inside of it, and then say File, Open Project. And we were inside of LTK building this, so it remembers it. So now going back to what we just have done, I normally sort these folders in date modified, so I can see what is the latest that I did. So under C155 GUI, under labs. So from this point on, this is where we're going to be doing all of our work. So my working folder is here. So once again, we are this is your chosen location. This is what we downloaded today and updated with all the files. Under external, that's where the update took place. Now we'll go under labs, and the first lab is right here, and this is our first project to try. So I typically open the solution file. Just say open. Okay, so once again, it wants us to make an upgrade from earlier version of Visual Studio. Just say OK. And it should tell us that everything is fine. Okay, there are really just no complicated issues under this stuff. And we just go straight to build it. Just say build it. And I am like, once I built FLTK library on my machine and it went without issues, I'm pretty confident about building this. There should be no, like if you suddenly experience any kind of issues, it's just something to do with your environment. My first advice would be to like make sure that you update the version of Visual Studio that you're using. Just make sure that you get the latest update. Sometimes things got out of sync with, with different configurations. So then I just sometimes advise people to uninstall the current version and reinstall fresh. After all, Microsoft Visual Studio right now, Community Edition is free. So hopefully this will be like, possible to make up these updates without any issues. Anyways, and then what? And then we can run it. I normally press Control F5 as a shortcut just to run it without debugging or anything. So this is how it looks like on my machine right here. Right. So we have this window, which is, I don't think we can resize it, but it just basically says hello world. And this is sort of like a proof of concept that this library was installed properly. We were able to get the latest. We're now able to build projects. And now this window will have graphical user interface and all the features that come with FLTK library will now become available to us. So we can experiment and start playing with this. Now remember, there is an appendix in the textbook that talks about various ways to install the library, so you can check that. But what I'm presenting here today is my way of like making it the easiest for you. Latest version of the library and pre-configured project which is ready to go. Just like you can like clone any project and create your own application without worrying about any other configuration issues. So that's what we have in this segment right now. Right. So it's working on my system. Sounds good. And just with like everything else, it's good idea to make an upgrade once in a while. And we have now the latest. Right. So this is something that looks similar to this. And by the way, one more thing. Recall that when we were building the library, we built two versions of it. We built debug and release. So let's make that test all as well, right? So we can switch from debug to release, which is also part of this configuration, and again try to build, right? Just another quick test. So this is the release optimized version of everything. Again, I press Control F5 and you can see that I'm getting the same results, right? So it's good to be able to, like, in reality, when you building application for the real world, remember that compilers support debug builds which are unoptimized and maybe instrumented with extra little features hidden inside your application to do all sorts of checking on memory use, on appropriate use of libraries and things of that nature. So in real world, you should be testing your applications with both debug and release versions of your build. And release version is optimized, and release version allows you to basically create um, production like commercial sort of like quality applications which run very fast and efficient, and they may be optimized. So don't get stuck on release, because when you're developing your applications, most likely you'd like to stay in debug mode, because it's easier to debug in debug mode. But ultimately, don't forget that you need to test occasionally or on more or less regular basis, test with both debug and release builds.